Hi, folks. Bruce Wiseman back again with you. I'm the CEO of On Target Research, a market research and survey company that conducts surveys throughout the United States and businesses, industries of any kind, shape, or whatever. I can't think of an industry that where we haven't conducted surveys. We've been doing this for 30 years, and both in the U.S. and abroad. So if you happen to be watching this from a foreign country, we've been doing surveys primarily in the U.S., but we've done Russia, Germany, Mexico, England. I don't think we've done any in France yet. But at any rate, we have these days with technology, it has expanded our reach and our ability to get surveys done everywhere. I had something that kind of popped into my memory that I thought would be interesting because it makes surveys so much better and helps drive leads and sales and income when done correctly. There's a little story to it. Let me see, late 1991, a friend of mine at a meeting said he was going to conduct and open a business college in Moscow and wanted to know if I'd come and talk. He asked a couple other guys at this meeting, and so there was a little cadre of, I don't know, for lack of a better word, consultants that arrived in Moscow in June of 1992. And there were about 200, in the audience. These are supposed to be Russian entrepreneurs. I may have been all the entrepreneurs there were in Moscow at that time. But I gave a talk on surveys that went over well. I finished my talk and went out into the lobby and was met by a lieutenant colonel from the Ministry of Internal Affairs. And he said, he thought the information on the surveys was of interest. He thought his superior at the ministry would find the survey technology, helpful. And, would I take a meeting with his boss? So I said yes. Wild times in Russia. So the next morning, my wife was with me on the trip. We're out in front of the headquarters, the Ministry of Internal Affairs. This is the Russian National Police. This is like the FBI in Russia. And down, two guards came and walked us down these halls to the elevator, which didn't work. So we had to walk up 4 flights, and we met with Colonel Stanislav Pilov, who was in charge of the welfare of the Russian police. Now, get this, in Russia, all police work for the Ministry of Internal Affairs. It's like if every cop in the U.S. worked for the FBI. So he was in charge of, I think the number is about 1 million Russian police. And he was very frank. I mean, those were wild times in Russia. And now they were sending police out on calls, and they were being shot at. No surprise, particularly because, the main communication line between the MIA, the cops, and the Russian public was a nightstick, boink. At any rate, he said, could this technology help? And I said, yes, it could. So he stood up, he walked over to a closet, he got this big wooden clock, he gave it to my wife. He said, this is the beginning of a new relationship between Russia and America. I'm like, whoa, Gorbachev, Reagan, on target research. Anyway, I became friends with Pilov. My wife and I became friends with Pilov, and there's more to that story, which I'll tell in another video. But at any rate, after this meeting, Ivanov, the first colonel that we met, is driving me back to my hotel, and he said, when should I pick you up for your talk? And I said, what talk? And he said, well, this got lost in the translation, but that Colonel Pilaf had asked me to give a talk to the 50 top executives of the ministry about the survey technology. And I said, I said, when? And he said, Thursday. And I said, well, I've got a radio show Thursday. I've got to do it. He went, well, it normally takes them 3 weeks to get this group together. They've done it for you in 2 days. I said, okay, I'll be there. So Thursday, we're back in front of the ministry. Pardon me. The vice minister comes down and escorts us down the hall, up 4 flights of stairs again. This time into what was I came to find out was a very famous conference room, and we I looked in there, as full of braid. The Ministry of Internal Affairs in Russia, Russian police are military. They're militia, so they're all in military uniforms. Colonels, generals. The vice minister goes, go ahead. So I went to the front of the room and I gave a talk. It was all through a translator, and I think that the tone of the room at that point was maybe unexpressed resentment, like, who is this American, come to tell us whatever. I later found out I was the first American ever to talk to these guys, but anyway, the talk went well, and the tone of the room kind of lifted as they could see some value in the surveys of the public about the service that they would provide. Then the talk ended. I said, any questions? A hand goes up in the back of the room. This is a police chief of Moscow. Yes? He says, how do you write the survey questions? Well, this is a very bright question because there is a technology to creating survey questions. We don't do closed-ended surveys, meaning, you've seen these, I'm sure. Did you think the service was excellent, good, so-so, poor? No, we ask open-ended questions. What was the most important factor for you in buying that automobile tire? Oh, it was, durability, how long it would last. Then we tabulate the surveys when there's a commonality in answer to the question. Then that commonality becomes a hot button, goes to the marketing department, the PR department, and their offerings, the marketing programs and the PR can use that information, and it increases the leads and the sales and the income. So the creation of survey questions is important. You want to write questions that bypass the social machinery of an answer. Dr. Jones walks into the office and he says to his secretary, good morning, Susie, how are you? I'm fine, doctor. No, Susie's not fine. She's had a fight with her boyfriend. She's hungover. She's not fine. Fine is a social answer. So you have to write survey questions that bypass that. They get around that and into the real essence of the subject that our client is marketing, whether it's a product or a service. So the creation of the survey questions is very important. We've been doing this for 30 years now, conducting surveys, and I'm delighted to say that we're able to increase the leads and the sales and the income of our clients. I've got more success stories packed into this computer than I could even name. Or I don't know what the number is. But that was a story that reminded me to talk about the importance of how you word a survey question. Very, very important. In thinking about this, there's a picture that my wife took when I was talking to these guys. That's me, and then you just get the back of a couple of people, but you can see whose picture you can see whose pictures on the wall there, can't you? You know, if you're a history buff, you know that's Vladimir Lenin. It's Lenin, and even in '92, his picture's still up there. Anyway, I did get surveys done for the ministry, and I'll talk about that in another video down the line. If you need to get surveys done, whether you're a small mom and pop or a big corporation, we've done all sizes, all kinds. We can help you increase your sales and income. On Target Research, ontargetresearch.com. I'm Bruce Wiseman. I'll see you in the next video.